well worthwhile, and actually that first hour alone was exactly why I wanted to sign up to a session like this, because it was something that I knew that I didn't know much about, but I had got no idea how to gain more information about it. Quick overview and summary of the first lesson that they've done. So these lessons are 11 in total, and they are about 3 hours over Zoom. I originally did this because I'm a partner, just newly started, and now been 6 weeks, and I'm in my probation period. So I thought that this would be a really good way just to demonstrate to the practice that, one, I take it seriously, and hopefully that in 6 months' time, so March 22, they'll sign me up, and then we'll be all good. The session consisted really of 3 key speakers. So the first part was Ed and Tommy, so the main makers of Medic's Money and the main founders of it, really going into the nuts and bolts and giving some good introduction to actually what being a GP partner is, and that sort of like hammering home to me. I knew that I would be self-employed, but actually financially, what does that mean? Okay, what risks am I now taking? What are the tax implications, it's clearly going to be a massive topic in itself. And so that sort of just led to a whole way of that discussing, and just gave some really good thoughts and things for me to take away in terms of what the money processes are coming into the practice, and likewise where we can start having a look at making efficiencies and savings. Good as well, because it set the framework for in future lessons that they've asked us to get the practice accounts, not to necessarily share and be open, but just so that we've got something to look at and being able to reference, and so actually what they're teaching makes sense. So well worthwhile, and actually that first hour alone was exactly why I wanted to sign up to a session like this, because it was something that I knew that I didn't know much about, but I had got no idea how to gain more information about it. So even if I can then bring some savings to the practice, that to me has covered the costs of this course already. So for me, it's already potentially made its money just from one session alone, which was brilliant. Next one, bit of a fan favourite, obviously Dr. Hussain Ghandi from EGP Learning. Bit of a hero worship from mine, and it was great to hear from just his pearls of wisdoms, as he's been in sort of the tech space in primary care and really pushing for sort of efficiencies, but through a technology basis from that. He came out with some absolute gems, and sort of looking at the team community and also yourself, with the yourself being obviously your productivity goals and your certain tasks. A lot of the stuff that would that are echoed around in other areas where they're trying to increase productivity. The one that I really took home was the community stuff. So he sort of did a deep dive into how his practice had worked on their Facebook channel, and also taken that wider to sort of Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, in terms of pushing out the messages and actually using those platforms for for good, and for just to try to get the community and pushing out your own message. The other one, massive tip, and I've got to thank him for this, is the Google business page. So if you type in Google business page in your practice, for example, and I did this for ours, Google automatically sets up effectively a business page for you. Now, if you don't take ownership of that, then anyone else can either comment on it or, adjust it as they seem fit. So following this, I went straight onto Google and went, right, come on, let's get this done and get it sorted from that way. The final speaker was Dr. Charlotte Jameson, who, again, really, really fascinating. True credit to her, was talking about how to manage your team, making sure that your team as a wider is well looked after, not only as fellow partners, but also looking at salaried, backroom staff as well, receptionists, all the whole team, so that you're all pulling in the same direction. And actually that was echoed throughout the whole of that initial 3 hours, how actually teamwork is the main driver for this, and has sort of like just made sure that I re-emphasize some of my own efforts within practice, just to make sure that we're all pulling and I'm adding value to the practice as a whole. So just to tie in there, some of the lessons that I learned was that some of the things that I was doing was well. So I've reinvigorated our Facebook channel, but it was just making sure that we were, that was the correct thing to do. And in fairness, I was like, okay, yep, seems to be going on the right bit. The other bit that I would sort of recommend is that I thanked the practice. So obviously every practice across the UK has been suffering with COVID. When I went for interview back in the early part of this year, I was like, have the staff been thanked? Simple question. Have it been thanked? Have they got a token of appreciation from the practice that they can use? So following that, I commissioned a whole load of pin badges, which basically said that, it was a thank you from the practice to the staff. And that was issued throughout all members of staff and practice, whether they, be from cleaners all the way up through to the partners. It was everyone who was possibly engaging with the practice was thanked. So in this one, I'm just going to pull up their community page, which just shows a general introduction of what they've asked us to do, a bit about us, a bit about our background and what sort of brought us to it, and sort of basically so they can steer our teaching as needs be. And I thought it was an excellent way just to start to get the other one as well. So hope you found that useful. Please subscribe for more videos. Again, after every course, I'll do an update of it. Guys at Medics Money, huge thank you for your efforts. It's been a brilliant course so far, and I look forward to the next one in about a couple of weeks' time. Thank you.